I had a talk at Humber College yesterday. It was a
Nice.
guest lecture, and it was the first time I've done it in 2 years. So it was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
But you have to wear a mask, which is weird. So, but anyways,
The whole time. Yeah. Yeah, that happens.
I was gonna say I had a note here. It says the opera singing journalist mayor. That's you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Hey,
listen.
once upon a time sang opera, and don't ask me to do it again because I'm a little rusty. Same with backflips. I used to be able to do those too. So
Wow, you used to be
the,
super athletic then.
I was really fun and had lots of interest. Yeah, I was in competitive gymnastics until my teens, and then I went on to other things. But can't
We
do
have,
that. Can't do the splits or backflips anymore, and I can't really sing opera music much anymore. But I can carry a tune in karaoke. So
nice.
there you
Wow.
go.
So much information here. Okay, so let's get right
None of
on.
which I'm sure anyone wants to talk about. So let's talk about what they do want to talk about.
It'll be used on a roast one day, I guess. Right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So let's talk about the guidelines for vaccinations for 5 to 11s. Dr. Lowe, the PO medical officer in PO, came out today saying that they're ready to go. They're going to be shooting it at schools. They have 136 kind of mobile stations ready for the schools when they're, I guess, when Health Canada says, okay, we're ready
Hmm.
for the vaccinations. Does Halton, Burlington have a plan in place?
Well, Halton Region, of course, handles all of our health for all four municipalities. So that yes, Halton Region is developing those plans. We asked about it actually last week at the Halton Regional Council meeting to get an update, and our staff are working on that. They will have a plan in place as soon as ready to go as soon as that okay is given, and stay tuned. So
Okay,
no announcements yet, but absolutely we'll be ready, and they're working on a plan.
cool. Do you think they'll be done at schools? Or is that part of the?
Hard to say. Yeah,
Okay.
hard to say. So stay tuned.
Okay. Awesome. And have you been out eating at restaurants? Because
I
obviously,
have.
have you been out since the capacity limit has been completely gone?
I have. So it was my 28th wedding anniversary on the weekend with my husband on Saturday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know you celebrated one recently too. It was like 3 years or 4 years or something. No? Did you?
Um,
Am I confusing it with somebody else? Anyways.
no, I think, well, it wasn't three. It's closer to 10. So,
Okay, there you go.
yeah,
That's
so,
good. That's
yeah,
good.
I'm not
Well,
that
there are,
young.
you know what? There are a lot of people that got married in October. So I saw a bunch of other anniversaries, and I think I put a note on yours as well. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm getting all the dates mixed up. But I was out on Saturday night. I was out with some friends on Friday night. Got my oyster fix. Yay!
Yeah, nice.
I'm going out this afternoon, although I will be on a patio because it's such a nice day, and they let me bring my doggy. So it's perfect.
And I'm sure you talk to the restaurateurs. I mean, what are they saying?
Well, everyone's glad that the capacity limits have been lifted. There's still this transition because they have to request the vaccine proof for it, unless you're eating outside, but they do have to request that. So my continued plea is please be kind to your server. They didn't make the rules. They're just there and have a legal obligation to follow them and enforce them. So be nice to them when you come out. But you know what? The capacity isn't going to change overnight. There are still people who have kids that can't be vaccinated, immunocompromised people in their households, or other considerations where they're extra cautious and careful. And so just because capacity can go to 100% doesn't mean the public, everyone in the community is ready to kind of go full tilt. So, it certainly numbers are increasing, but
True.
it'll be a while before the restaurants see the full effect of that, and let's hope we keep continuing to open up.
Are you an app license type person or a vaccination receipt and license type person?
I have the QR code
You have
on
okay, you
my
have the app.
phone.
You have the app.
What?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just show my phone, and then I have to pull out ID to show who I am. So
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Cool. 5.5% tax hike potentially. Will that number stay
Yes.
there?
No, that number
Yeah.
will not stay there. It never does.
Okay.
So staff always give sort of a recommendation to council. In my 11 years, and this will be my 12th or 13th budget, it has never stayed the same as the staff recommendation. It has always gone down when staff kind of get out our pencils and listen to the community. And sometimes we actually add things while we're also reducing the impact. So 5.5 is too high. I've heard from the community, message loud and clear. And I will be looking for areas to trim while we add the services that the community expects. And we're still grappling with COVID. We have a $5.5 million hole in our budget because of COVID. So we'll be asking for, once again, the province and the federal government for some help and some top ups. All the mayors have done so and will continue to ask for that. So that's just one area, but we're putting some things in that the community I know will appreciate. So we've had a free seniors transit program running as a pilot. We're going to just make that permanent. So free transit for seniors in off-peak hours. Have a great time. I know that will go through for
So
folks.
seniors never have to pay for transit ever again. Is that correct in Burlington?
Off-peak hours. So the full details, we just got the summary from the staff report. If it's the same as what the pilot was, it was during off-peak hours. We may elect to just make it free to make it simple. So if you're over 65, I think it is, maybe it's 55, you can ride Burlington Transit for free, for sure, in off-peak hours right now.
Yeah.
And that was the request from the community. But we've seen such a huge increase pre-pandemic with ridership because it's free. There's a known relationship between cost and ridership. So, you know, concerns of pandemic aside, there's lots of people still nervous to get back on the bus because of COVID. So ridership hasn't returned. We're about 75, 80% here in Burlington. That's good compared to some other major services. It's not been that at Metrolinx or TTC. So our riders are coming back to us, but we're not at what we were before the pandemic at all.
Okay. Let's talk about major highlights, line items for the 2022 Burlington budget.
Well, those are a couple of them.
Okay.
So we have to fill the $5.5 million gap left by COVID, and that's partly because of increased costs, cleaning, bylaw officers, security at recreation centers, all of that, plus reduced revenue. So our capacity limits, we've had a hit on revenue as well. We've had, less than half of people being able to be enrolled in our programs because of capacity limits, and those continue. So, the impact of those continues. So we've had a revenue hit. Like I said, we're going to do the free transit for seniors. We are looking at adding more bylaw officers because we know even before the pandemic that we weren't able to address things like noise and pets off leash and some other nuisances that really affect people's quality of life. And of course, COVID has added a whole other layer of that. So we certainly need to address that. There's infrastructure levy. So we have a 1.25% infrastructure levy where we are trying within 20 years to close the gap of our infrastructure deficit. And that is the annual needs to keep renewal or new assets, and then what money's coming in. There's a huge gap and there's a deficit. So we're trying to close that over time. So
Okay.
that's in the budget as well. So those are some of the big ticket items.
All right. Awesome. I'm sure we talked about restaurants before. The question I always get whenever I go to a restaurant, they're like, "Hey, Khaled, how long do you think the vaccine passport will be around for?" What do you think?
Well, we got an inkling of that answer from the Premier a couple of days ago. When they announced the restaurant capacities, they also announced their reopening plan. And that includes starting January 17, if health indicators continue to be low. So low infection rates, low positivity, ICU rates are low, hospital capacity is available. If those indicators are all good, they're looking at possibly starting to lift restrictions, including vaccine mandates, as early as January 17. I have my own concerns about that. I think it's soon.
Yeah.
And but they're doing it, they're proposing it in a graduated fashion. So January would be some lifting of restrictions, February would be another level of lifting, and then by the end of March, they're looking at possibly the balance, which would include the mask mandate being lifted. So we'll see how that works. You know, a year ago at this time, we were exactly in this position. Low infection rates, lots of optimism, opening things up, and then bam, Christmas,
Sure.
and then opened up again, and then double bam with the worst wave in the spring. So we have to be very cautious. We have a bit of a sense of how this virus works, and it comes in waves. And so
Sure.
we can't let our hair down, and it will be really important to watch those indicators. The difference, of course, between this year and last year is that we do have vaccinations. So I think that the vaccinations are the one thing you don't want to let go of first. Some of the other measures, potentially, if everyone's vaccinated, we're at about 88, 89% here in Halton region, which is awesome. But we're not out of the woods yet. And this virus is still out there mutating and coming back in different versions and iterations to come after us. And we got to keep our guard up.
True. I got a question from a reporter here. My reporter was told that he was getting an update on numbers of city staff who are vaccinated within a week. They're still waiting.
Oh, yeah.
Would you know?
Offhand, I don't know.
No.
So we did, yeah, no. Well, council has asked for this too. So as soon as I know, you'll know.
Okay.
It will be public. We've asked for that to be reported. There was a bit of a gap in the data uploading, because we did contract an external health agency to keep a separation so that people could feel comfortable when they were giving their information about their vaccination status, that it was going to an independent third-party health agency that knows all about the privacy restrictions and rules.
Okay.
We at the city only get the aggregated, this is how many people filled out the form one way or the other, and this is how many people are vaccinated or not. So I would say for sure we know that the vast majority of our employees are vaccinated, but we're still, I don't have the exact numbers for you at this time.
No worries. So let's talk about next summer. Okay. Do you see events like Sound of Music, Ribfest coming back to normal?
Well, what's normal?
I mean,
large crowds.
Yeah.
Large crowds, yes. Because we now have a way, and even especially with those two events. So for a while now, those two events have, for lack of a better word, been gated. So they're fenced. There are controlled access points, mostly for safety and security and numbers and crowding, just to make sure that that could be controlled. This was quite apart from COVID.
Yeah.
And so, and then certainly there were some, you know, like the beer tents were sequestered, and so there was an ability to control things there. So, and with Ribfest, part of the advantage of that gated area was you could walk around the whole interior area between rivers, so to speak, and carry your beverage with you. It was kind of like a big open beer garden. So that was happening before the pandemic. So what's great about that in a pandemic is that if there needs to be screening, or if there needs to be protocols like, you know, masking while you're wandering, or even if the vaccine mandate is still here, because we've seen that you know, if we see that is the single best tool to keep everybody healthy and safe, then let's follow that. There's a way to screen people as they come in. So there was actually, and you may have heard about this, there was a food truck festival in Burlington, I want to say about a month or so ago, and that's how they set it up. It was gated, and people were in a huge lineup waiting to get in. They were able to crowd control, check vaccines, you know, do a screening and all of that. So it was a bit of a wait. to get in, but you know, I think that's the new normal, that there
Okay.
will be some level of screening to at least until we know we've really beaten this thing, to make sure that people entering those premises are safe and not a risk to infecting other people. So they don't have it and they're not going to give it to anyone. And once we can kind of establish that baseline of safety, absolutely, then there's every reason for us to come back to gathering in large numbers and participating in some of those festivals. And we see the return to that already with the stadiums and the events.
Yeah.
And again, the difference there is it's controlled access. So it's not a free for all. It's not, you know, thousands of people showing up randomly. It's going to be more controlled access going forward, I think.
Awesome. So Sound of Music and Ribfest, I get my pulled pork sandwich meal in Burlington.
There you go.
All right.
There you
So,
go. Fundraiser for the community. So it's all good. All the love comes back to our community, which we like a lot. So thank you for your donation.
awesome. Let's talk about the Christmas market planned for December 9th to 12th.
Yes.
What does expect?
I hope we'll get a lot of people, and because it's spread out over a you know, a period of time, I think it'll allow many, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people to come down at different times and enjoy it. I hope there's a great turnout. It's something that council approved for 2 years. I hope it will be a permanent fixture on our, you know, it's gotten a lot of buzz already. People are like, this is awesome. I can't wait to come down. And, you know, people are looking, especially now after the last year and a half that we've had, people are looking for opportunities to gather and be outside. It's an outside event in the winter. We've learned that we can eat outside in the cold. We're Canadians. So I think we'll actually see a lot more winter activities outside, recreational activities and events, things like that. So there is no going back to any kind of life we experienced before. We have learned some great things out of this that people want. For example, people playing pickleball all winter, you know, they want to shovel the courts and get out and play, and, you know, God love you. Absolutely. So let's make that, just because there's no pandemic, if there's an interest. So we're looking at that in terms of our recreational programming, how, you know, what do we want to keep? And there's been so many changes to city service delivery that have been really good, and we're going to keep. So there is going to be a whole new way of life here in the city that is better and positive once we start to come out of this pandemic. There's no going back here.
Will the mayor be there?
Beware, playing pickleball?
Christmas market.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Or the pickleball.
Yeah, I don't know how to play pickleball. Although I know it's like a giant tennis racket, and anyways, I've never actually had the opportunity to play and learn. I used to be a tennis player, though. It was pretty good on my
so much information here.
So many things. I played soccer, I played basketball.
If there's ever a road, I have to be a part of it. So
yes.
Okay, but you're going to be at the Christmas market.
I will 100% be at the Christmas market, enjoying every minute of it.
Okay. And I always go scrolling through your Instagram, and you have a thing called Mayor's Mailbag. And I've always wondered what questions do you get asked the most? Like you're at, you know, the farmer's market, and I'm sure you get kind of a certain topic that gets thrown at you a lot. What is it?
One of the biggest, well, COVID has been the biggest for a long time, but that's really waning. It's really going down, and it's sort of the normal types of things that we used to get. It's we get a lot about trees coming down, winter trees being replanted, the tree bylaw. People love our trees, so we get a lot of questions about that. But I would say the biggest thing that people stop me on the street about is development still. Yeah. Because there's a lot of growth coming to Burlington, and some of it is the right amount in the right place, and some of it really is not. There's a lot of appeals happening at the Ontario Lands Tribunal where the decision has been taken right out of our hands. And there's, you know, people are understandably concerned or confused because they say, well, didn't you run on a platform in 2018 to, stop development. And no, I didn't. It wasn't to stop development. It was to ensure that we had reasonable growth going forward. We know we're going to continue to grow, but to make sure that it was not overdevelopment, and make sure that it was the right amount of growth in the right place of the right scale. And some of what people are seeing, particularly in the downtown, there's a lot of cranes in the air, and there's a lot of high density applications coming forward. And they're saying, "Didn't you say you were going to stop this?" And I'm just as concerned about those as residents. And the thing is, a lot of that was approved by the previous council, or previous councils, plural. Some of the approvals date back even before my time, and they're just starting to be built now. And so, of course, we had no ability to roll those back. Some of them were approved, turned down by council, so we did our job, and then were approved by the Ontario Lands Tribunal on appeal. So those two things were out of our control. We can't stop those. But what the city council did do, so we have done everything that is within our power to do to reset the conversation downtown and elsewhere, and to make sure the right development goes in the right place, that we don't have overdevelopment. So what we've done is we redid the official plan for downtown Burlington. That was number one, and took out a lot of the high rises that were contemplated, including a 17-story potential high rise in the middle of Village Square, right where we're talking about our nice holiday market. So we took that out. We took out a whole bunch more, and I will be doing a comprehensive summary very soon about this, about the changes that we did make to the downtown plan. We also have started to shift and focus growth up at the GO station. So we're redoing all of our plans for those three areas, and that public consultation is underway, including shifting the major transit station area designation and the urban growth center designation downtown. Those two policy designations were used to beat us over the head with inappropriate overdevelopment. And we would get our lunch handed to us by the OLT, the tribunal, because of that. And so we said, this has got to stop. We've met all of our growth targets across the city and downtown, but we're continuing to get pummeled because of these inappropriate designations. So we've been working with the region of Halton and the Ontario Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to get those designations shifted where they belong to the Burlington GO station.
Yeah.
And we expect to have a decision from the ministry by the end of November on both of those. Because we can't make that decision ourselves. You learn really fast what you can do, and we've done everything in our power, and then you learn where the limits of your legal jurisdiction lie, and then we advocate, and then we try to make our case, which is what we've done in that situation. So to come full circle, there is development that's going on. Some of it is good, and some of it, I would agree with the residents, is not good, and we didn't have the legal jurisdiction to stop it. But what we did do is we're going to say we're not going to allow it to continue, and so on our watch, we're going to reset the conversation, which is what we've done. So good news going forward. The other thing that we've done is we've said to the province, this was a motion I brought to regional council, unanimously supported, that we kick the OLT to the curb. Its time has come. It's undemocratic. It overturns decisions of communities and councils. Its time is over. It adds money and time and cost to housing at a time we need to reduce costs and red tape. And so we'll continue to make that message a key part of our advocacy in the upcoming June 2022 provincial election. So until that is eliminated from planning in Ontario, we will continue to face limits on our ability to control development.
So are you saying OLT should just completely be scrapped?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. That's my position. So, and here's the thing. People say, well, what, we can't possibly let municipalities control development. They're not, what about those really bad councils in somebody else's city that can't do it right? And I said, well, first of all, do you want to identify who those people are that can't manage their own development? Because certainly Burlington isn't in that category at all. We have professional staff that are highly qualified that can help us with this. But and that's kind of a red herring argument. And then folks will say, well, what if there's a decision that somebody doesn't like? And and so the response is, but the province doesn't check our work on traffic calming. It doesn't check our work on wastewater and keeping our water source clean and policing and all of these other matters that are within our wheelhouse. The province doesn't check our work and overturn our decisions. We're capable of making those other health and safety decisions. This is planning. This is what people's neighborhoods look like. This is their life. This is the biggest investment most of us will ever make. We should have the power to make that decision, just as we have the power to make the decisions on all those other things that I just mentioned. If we're capable of making those decisions, we're capable of making this one. And if people are concerned that the process is not being fairly followed, there is an avenue for that. And so it's important to note that Ontario is the only province in the country with a tribunal structured this way that has the ability to simply overturn a council decision that they don't like. That's all it is. It's, I don't like it. I'm going to see if somebody else will make a different decision. Every other province, you have to demonstrate that you didn't get a fair hearing, that the process wasn't followed, that the public wasn't engaged, that there was something along the way where democracy was upended. You can't simply overturn a decision you disagree with. And until that stops, we will continue to have planning chaos in Ontario, delay in delivery of housing, millions and millions of dollars spent on tribunal hearings and lawyers. The public is shut out effectively. They can watch the hearings, but they can't participate. They can't impact them in a meaningful way. So until we get rid of the OLT, we will, the province is basically by a unelected single adjudicator determining how neighborhoods they don't live in should look like. And it's not cool.
I'm assuming the OLT doesn't have registered lobbyists.
Well, no, I mean, one hopes the adjudicators aren't meeting with anyone outside of a hearing, but maybe we should, maybe that's a good question to ask, but the lobbying is done in full public view at the tribunal hearing. Yeah. And it's become planner for hire. So if a developer wants to put a 30-story building in the middle of a neighborhood, they hire a planner to say that's good planning. We come along with our more objective, I will say, planners who say, yeah, we don't think so. And then you've got the dueling planners.
True.
And the lawyers and the Ontario Land Tribunal trying to decide which expert planner is right. And as I said, it's become planner for hire. There's this little cottage industry that has developed around the tribunal of lawyers and planners who make a living defending application. Whatever the application is, somebody will defend it.
Crazy.
Those are my feelings about the OLT. So yes, it should be eliminated. I don't believe it can be reformed. It was reformed in a much better way by the previous government, I will say, and that was via extensive consultation with communities, municipalities, elected officials, development industry, and it did scale back quite significantly their powers. This government has went right back to the beginning and then made further changes that made it even harder for the community voice to be heard. So it's gotten worse.
Well, I got some kind of good news.
Lay it on me.
I'm probably buying a house soon. Like,
in Burlington?
We're moving, right? And probably we're looking at Burlington. We're looking at Aldershot area.
Aldershot's awesome.
Yeah, so just letting you know.
Great community.
I haven't called Bonnie yet, right? But I'm okay with that.
You will love Aldershot. It is an amazing, anywhere in Burlington, really.
Yeah.
But I know the community well. I know a lot of the people well because my kids went to school in Aldershot, and it's a great neighborhood, and you'd love it there.
Two of my really good friends have just moved to Burlington, so they're telling me to come over. But I love Burlington, so you don't have to sell me on Burlington. I love it. So anyway, I'll end the conversation that way, and I'll let you know when I get the keys.
Awesome. We
All
will
right.
do the big Burlington welcome.
All right. Awesome. All right.
Great to chat with you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.